Today I'm going to show you how to improve your damage in dungeons by maxing out your gear and getting the best stats possible. Make sure you hit subscribe and let's get straight into the video. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is pick a class. Now I've decided to go for Mage because I quite like Mage. I think it's a good one to go with. Then what you need to do is find an armor set. Obviously I've got a bunch of videos on which armor sets for each class, but for Mage it's going to be 3/4 Storm and Necrotic Wither Goggles. Now what you can straight away do for every class is just come into Maxwell and pick a power that's best for your class. Now you might need to get some power stones. This is what I've done. I've got Sighted as my ability. It gives you 3% ability damage and 466 intelligence at 339 magical power, which is definitely not really enough. I should probably do more on my talismans, so that is important. You definitely need to get your talismans up as high as possible, get all of them. I haven't got quite enough of them really, but then so you get the power, and that'll give you a bunch of stuff. So you can even, this is a basic one, but Commando gives you 109 crit damage, which will increase your damage by a lot. So yeah, this is important. And then stats tuning is also important. So I think I've got this tuned for tank or something, so it's not actually the right stats. But if you're mage, you put into intelligence, or if you're berserker, you put into crit damage or strength. All of that stuff. So tuning is very important as well. You'll get a bunch of tuning points from your magical power. So yeah, you definitely want to put that onto your, make sure your points are tuned. Then probably the next most important thing is going to be your reforges. So if you look at these, I've got ancient on them right now. I probably should have necrotic. Necrotic is the best mage reforge, I believe. But what I run in dungeons is often using left click mage, using my giant sword. So that does crit, so it is important to have some crit damage from your thing. But ancient is definitely the best reforge to go with for armor. Only if you're, the only exception is if you're using magic weapons, because they don't crit. So yeah, crit damage is very important. You get that from ancient, and that also gives you a bit more crit chance and crit damage in the stats up there, as well as health, defense, intelligence. Another important thing you need to add is definitely your hot potato books. Now these ones, I have all maxed hot potato books, which is very, very important because these are base stats which give you a lot when you're actually in dungeons. And you obviously, the next thing you need is enchants. Now I haven't got mine maxed, which is what I want to do actually. This is quite an important thing to do. So you want to find the important ones to max on your armor are going to be growth and protection. So you want to get growth 6 and prot 6, but I cannot find, where are they? His protection, I think protection 6 and 7. So protection 6 is going to be 3.2 million. So for now, if you can't afford this sort of thing, you can just go for a basic one, prot 5. But it is important to eventually get your things maxed and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to put this on my boots for now, get them maxed up. Obviously it's not completely maxed because you get 7, but 7 isn't really worth it in my opinion, unless you're fully trying to max your gear. I do need some more levels for this. And that's another important thing, is getting your skill XP up, because depending on which class you're playing, obviously you're going to need, if you're doing combat, is very important for every skill, for every class, because you just deal more damage to mobs, but you'll get crit damage as well from that. But for mage, it's very important to get enchanting skill, because this gives you plus 0.5 ability damage per level. So if you're high on enchanting skill, then you can easily get more damage, which is very important. So yeah, what else can you look at? So there's obviously crystals, but these ones don't really need crystals. The mage gear isn't that important. But for my giant sword, obviously it's got one for all, but that is not the best enchant. It's better off to go for maxed enchants of the specific enchants, more like this spirit scepter, but it isn't all maxed. But for the giant sword, you want to have it with these 2 crystals you've got here. Now the way you add crystals is by going to the dwarven mines, and then you can add certain crystals to certain things. Now each piece will have a crystal slot. So this one has 2 slots for the pink one. I can't remember the names of them all. But yeah, if you look over here, I think it's this guy, he'll tell you the gems. So it'll be jasper gems. So he's got 2 jasper slots, and if you look in here, so this one has, I've given it 2 fine jasper gemstones. These are quite cheap. You could even go for a higher quality of jasper, but this gives the extra strength, which is very nice. It gives you 14 extra base strength, so that is very important. especially, yeah, this is really good to have on there, the giant sword. You could have whatever you have. A livid dagger could probably have some slots for something to go in there. But then in terms of the armor, I think there was a problem with me putting, I can't remember why, but I couldn't put crystals on it. I need 4 flawless sapphires, which is quite a lot to do. And then this one, it seems, I need to unlock the slot, I need to put a 4 flawless gemstones and 250k. And then this one is like, you need a flawless one of each to go in there to get some combat points. This is probably worth me doing, actually. But the flawless, wait, is it flawless? Or is it, yeah, flawless. These flawless gems are very expensive. If we look on the bazaar, they're very, very expensive to get. So it's probably not worth you going for flawless gems and unlocking those slots on your armor, because they are very, very expensive. I can never find where the gemstones are. Is it here? No. Let me look up flawless. So yeah, flawless gemstones. It looks like they're about 4 million for that one. 2 million for that one, 2 million for that one. For this one it was 1.6, actually not too bad. So if you want to unlock those slots, you can do that, but it's only extra mana for that slot, and for the combat slot that probably would be worth it. So there's one of each gemstone, I think, something like that, 1 of 4 gemstones to unlock that. In terms of on the weapons, it's the same thing basically. You want to get your hot potato books, you want to get your reforges. Fabled is a very good reforge because of this critical hits have a chance to do up to 15 extra damage. All of that's important, and I wouldn't suggest one for all, but it's just I can't be bothered to change it right now. And then what else can you do? You can recom. Now this is important. So I've recommed these wither goggles. They were epic to start with. Recomming does cost a lot. It costs like 5 mil per recom. You can buy them in the bazaar here. Here, so 6.6 or something like that. Yeah, 6.6 million is ridiculous. So yeah, they get very expensive, but they are worth it because you get better reforges. Now the intelligence might not have been worth it. And one of the main ways you're going to gain damage or defense is through pets. Now, what I like to use for mage is the sheep. I need to get this thing level 100, but it's very important I get it level 100. You could use other pets. I've got my elephant here. I've just got a legendary elephant. That's for farming, so it's not really helpful for dungeons, but that is very nice. I remember I got it from my thing. Other pets you could use is a baby yeti. It's better to get a legendary. I don't know why I have an epic isn't that useful. But that gives you ice shields, which is very important if you need to stay alive. So say I'm holding out my giant sword and I have the, I'll show you, I'll give you an example. This is just the epic yeti. So with the giant sword I have 387 strength, which isn't that much, but so, and then if we look at my defense now, or is it consuming it already? It might be. It gains 45%, so my defense on something else, so this has more strength, so it gets more defense, and I believe this would have this wouldn't have the most strength, but holding nothing I have 826 strength defense, and then when I add that I have 878, which is very nice. So if you had a high strength weapon, you could definitely use that to stay alive, like a flower of truth for example would be very useful for that, to stay alive, using the baby yeti pet. But sheep is definitely best for me because I get ability damage and intelligence, and that is very important. So, and then you need to also max your rejuvenate. I haven't done that. I've only got rejuvenate 4 on these, so it's not that good. But we want to make it. Yeah, I want to get prot 6 and rejuvenate 5 at least, and growth 6 as well. What else you can do? It's really mostly from there. It's about like recomming your. You can even recom it to mythic, but that will cost you. It will cost me like 24 million coins. I don't know if making storm mythic is the best idea, because as you get into master floors, the meta starts to become using Necron rather than storm. Yeah, my Necron isn't maxed at all, but I've been using it for different examples. This is a sort of healer set here. It's got the Mender Crown on it, and this isn't recommed, but yeah, this is a pretty half decent set that you could use eventually. If you've recommed all of it, you could use it in master floors, and you would need to get yourself some master stars. I think they're in here somewhere. Where is it? Yeah, here, master stars. So you get the first one for 7.5 mil, which adds all stats to additional 5% in master mode, which is really OP. Oh yeah, I didn't actually say, you need a 5-star everything. So all of your gear should be 5-starred. If we look at my mage gear, I think it is all 5-starred and all good like that. So you get a bunch of stats from 5-starring gear. If you look at that, in dungeons I get 1,500 extra intelligence just from the stars. And I also get a bunch of defense, crit damage, ability damage is very important. So yeah, that's really cool that you can, in dungeons using stars, you get a bunch of things. And now you can buy essence from the bazaar. There should be no reason why you can't get your stuff done. So wither essence is 1.8k exactly, so that is very useful. Because when I first maxed my stuff, the wither essence, you couldn't get it on the bazaar. So yeah, that's really easy to do now, and you can get yourself all your stuff starred and good to go for dungeons. Now there's a few things you can do like before the dungeon run to get yourself good. You want to get yourself a dungeon pot. This is just useful because if you have a god pot on normally, you get those stats outside of dungeons, but you don't get them in dungeons. So you want to pop this pot as soon as you go into dungeons. You get yourself a critical for this one. I think this is dungeon 7 potion or something. So you get crit 3, strength 5, regen 4, which is all really good stats. You can get buffs to archery, which is nice if you're an archer. You obviously, there's a lot of ways to increase your amount of damage by like hitting properly and doing the right things on boss fights. That is a very important thing. So like for example, Necron, most of the time he's invincible, or you have to do something first to kill him. All of that sort of boss phase stuff. And then like in floor 4, you don't really need to be killing mobs, you just need to be shooting the ghast. Floor 5, you have to identify which one is the right one. On floor 6, you basically just need to survive the terracottas. That's the hard part. So for that one, you want to build something that's survivable, like with a yeti and stuff like that. And yeah, you definitely need to get yourself reforge. Is very important. I'm not sure, you don't know the best reforge for every class, but you can figure it out pretty much based on what stat is important for each class. So for healer, it's health. For tank, it's defense. For berserk, it's damage, and then for archery, it's bow damage, and that sort of thing. And then mage, it's intelligence is very important because intelligence increases your damage the more you have with magic weapons. So that is very important. And you do want to be using your perks and stuff. So your thunderstorm, your guided sheep, or your healing circle is important, obviously, and wish. All of these things are quite useful, and I think they get better the higher your catacombs level is. So that is the most important thing. Catacombs level decides how much damage you're going to be doing based on, because you're in stats. So if I get a catacombs level right now, it would increase my stats by 9%. So that's very important. That's probably the most important thing to do. Is just level up your catacombs. Catacombs 50 people could survive with no armor in floor 1. Like, it would be easy for them because they get 465% stats. So it's very important. And make sure you're always using dungeon items. So some people, when they go into early floors, they're using stuff like dragon armor that isn't necessarily dungeon items, and it's not easy to star. So make sure you are starring your gear, and make sure it is dungeon items, because they get buffed by your catacombs level, which is very important. And then yeah, in terms of early game gear, just decide what gear you're going to use for each floor sort of thing, and then star them as you go. You don't have to always 5-star everything, and you don't have to always max everything, but make sure you've got your stats nice and good. But yeah, that's basically everything I have to say. So make sure you hit subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.